We start off in a really creepy place, with a giant statue in the middle of a lake. In front of it, a guy is kneeling as the statue utters some strange words. This hooded figure is praying, saying that when the goddess arrives, everything will be reborn. All of a sudden, the statue's eyes turn red, and it looks like the so-called goddess has entered it. Getting closer, you can see the statue's mouth is covered in a red liquid. Then a drop of that stuff falls from its mouth and lands on the ground, right in front of the guy. He then asks the goddess what she wants him to do now. The entity simply replies that what he offered is still not enough. With a wicked smile, the guy tells the goddess to relax, because there's plenty more on the way. The scene cuts to a bustling city, with everyone living their normal lives. Out in front of a government building, a young man is banging on a giant drum to get some attention. A guard opens the door, looking annoyed, and asks who's making all that racket. The young man, whose name is GQ, introduces himself to the guard, and he's all beaten up. The guard recognizes him and immediately asks what he's gotten into this time, as the young man points to the ground. GQ blames the unconscious guy, but the guard doubts that a scholar like him could have done that. The young man starts stalling, telling a story about a burnt pot and even stepping in something gross. Losing his patience, the guard tells the kid to stop messing around and get to the point. So he explains that a masked man tried to get him from behind with a club. Luckily, he was on his toes and managed to throw a handful of powder in the attacker's face. To finish it off, he says he gave the guy 2 kicks, and the dude passed out instantly. He continues, saying the guy tried to fight back, so he used a brick and then a pair of scissors. He also tells the guard that, from the looks of it, the bad guy must be an experienced criminal. The guard retorts that he's the one who looks like the criminal and accuses him of luring bad guys just to get reward money. Letting out a sigh, the guard just advises the young man to stay home more, since he's always getting into trouble. As the guard takes the bad guy away, the young man asks if he'll at least get some cash this time. The guard says they're busy with some disappearances and that he'll pay him later, leaving the boy very frustrated. Suddenly, someone calls his name, and he turns to see who it is. It's his classmate and neighbor Tang Yai, comes running towards him with a smile on his face. His friend teases him, saying he's at it again, but GQ denies it and complains that he didn't get his reward. Tang Yi remarks that his friend's bad luck is unreal and starts listing all the bizarre things that have happened to him. With a more serious look, his classmate asks him why he thinks all this stuff happens to him. GQ then confesses that all this bad luck has a reason. It's because of a special cheat he possesses. In a flashback, he explains that he ended up in this world because of a truck 1 year ago. Since he came from another world, he gained an ability that lets him save up comprehension, like it's money. He explains that the longer he saves it up, the unluckier he gets, but the reward at the end is much bigger. The young man says his accumulation bar has turned red, which means his bad luck is at its maximum. To cheer his friend up, Tang Yai invites him to eat, and the hungry guy immediately asks for 8 bowls of food. Walking through the city, they see a bunch of missing person posters on the walls. Once they're seated, the two talk about the disappearances, which seem to be connected to a new cult in the area. Ji-Quo scoffs at the idea of immortality, but he suddenly stops and says he remembered something. He remembers his great-aunt talking about this cult, and his friend finds her interest in it strange. His classmate says goodbye and takes off, but the young man gets annoyed because he hadn't even finished talking. Arriving home, he complains about his tiring day and opens the door to finally go inside. But the moment he opens the door, a bunch of talismans fly out of his house. The force of the papers throws him backward, and he hits the ground, completely clueless. Lying there, he puts a hand on his head, totally confused by what just happened. All around him, several of these mysterious papers are scattered across the courtyard. Then the young man hears a weird noise, and his expression changes to one of pure surprise. Looking to the side, he realizes the talismans are coming out from the well in his courtyard. The young man gets up and shouts, asking who's there trying to spook him with this prank. Very carefully, he gets closer to the edge of the well and looks inside to investigate. What he sees down there leaves him in shock, his eyes wide with fear. In the water's reflection, he sees the face of a bizarre woman with red eyes. The figure in the well cracks a sinister smile as it stares back at him. A strange sound comes from the bottom of the well, making the mood even more tense. Frightened, the young man recognizes the figure and wonders if that's really his great-aunt. Without warning, a creature shoots out of the water, sending the young man flying from the impact. The bizarre creature keeps climbing out of the well and appears to be huge and very frightening. On the ground again, the protagonist looks at the creature with a face of pure terror. The creature is his aunt, but now in a monstrous form, and the boy asks if she's even human anymore. The monstrous creature keeps repeating the word house, as its red eyes glow. Shouting about her son's house, the creature lunges right at the young man. Her attack shatters the ground and sends the young man flying through the air with brute force. Lying on the ground, the boy tries to calm his aunt down, saying there's no need for such formalities. Ignoring him, the creature insists she's going to take the house for her son. The protagonist doesn't back down and yells back that the house is his. The aunt reveals even more of her monster form and continues to scream about the house. With little choice, the young man grabs a brick and prepares to fight for his home. With all his might, the young man throws the brick straight at the creature. With a confident smirk, he just says to let the brick fly for a bit. The brick flies quickly through the air, heading right for its target. It scores a direct hit on the creature's head with a powerful impact. He then gets ready to use a secret technique he learned once when he was drowning. The young man uses the technique and starts swimming on the ground as if it were water. With this crazy ability, he's able to move quickly and dodge the creature. The monster aunt gets furious with her nephew's agility and weirdness. To the young man's surprise, the creature also dives into the ground and starts chasing him from below. Seeing this, the protagonist grabs 2 wooden mallets and gets ready to counterattack. Without a second thought, the young man starts hammering the creature's head. Even while getting hit, the aunt doesn't give up and keeps yelling about the house for her son. With another mallet in his hand, the young man jumps in for another attack on the creature. He lands a powerful blow right on the monster aunt's head. With the impact, the creature is defeated and flies apart as he falls. Meanwhile, his friend Tang Yi is chilling in a lounge chair. Eating something, he wonders if his friend's aunt really just went flying by. Lying on the ground, the protagonist thinks about how much his aunt changed in just a few days because of the cult. He realizes the dangers are increasing and wonders if this world has actual demons. The young man thinks the cult is behind the disappearances and gets scared of turning into a monster like his aunt. Making up his mind, he says he can't keep saving up his comprehension because his bad luck is already too much. Later that night, a lit candle shows he's getting ready for something. He has 4 martial arts books, but since he doesn't know if they're real, he decides to test them. He then picks one of the books, and his bracelet starts to glow with a red light. When he touches the book, a golden energy flows out of it and completely surrounds him, leaving him surprised. In his eyes, you can see the reflection of several golden figures practicing the technique's moves. Sitting on the floor, he meditates while the energy and various objects float around him. With his eyes closed, the young man is completely focused on learning the technique. The golden energy continues to swirl around him, with the books scattered on the floor. After finishing, he feels that he's learned the technique, but he notices a new and strange energy in his body. Suddenly, a dark energy with some red writing appears in the room, catching him by surprise. With a serious look, he realizes that the guys from the Fenglian cult have finally arrived. Just like last time, several talismans fly into his house through the window. One of the papers sticks to his face, and he's surprised by the unexpected visit. Extremely annoyed, he yells at the cult members for messing up the courtyard he had just cleaned. He starts to feel strange and suddenly sees some bizarre insects flying around him. With his eyes watering, he realizes the writing on the talismans is pure poison. Using the energy he just learned, he creates a sphere of light to protect himself. This golden energy expands and creates a shield that sends all the poison talismans flying. With a determined look, he prepares to face the threat. The young man realizes the new energy helps him keep a clear mind and resist the poison. A dark voice from the cult tries to convince him to join them and achieve immortality. The papers around him start to catch fire as the voice insists that he shouldn't resist. The voice finally stops, and he's relieved that he managed to silence the enchantment. He concludes that if it weren't for the Tai Chi technique, the cult would have taken him that night. The next day, the city is bustling as always, with everyone going about their routines. The protagonist finds his friend Tang Yi, who looks exhausted and won't stop yawning. His classmate complains that he couldn't sleep because of some strange chanting during the night. GQ explains that the chanting was from the Fenglian cult, leaving his friend even more confused. Tang Yi asks about his aunt, and the young man lies, saying she passed away peacefully. His friend then says he heard some loud noises and strange screams coming from his house. Shocked, Jiku asks why his friend didn't come to help, even after hearing all that noise. His friend defends himself, reminding him of the time he was left behind with a tiger and had to fend for himself. With nothing to say back, the protagonist gets frustrated and orders some food from the stall owner. His classmate takes the chance to order the sweet version of the food, making the owner happy. JQ notices that business is slow, and the owner explains that a lot of people followed the cult last night. The young man advises the owner not to join the cult, and he agrees, saying he doesn't believe in that stuff. The owner complains that the government does nothing and offers them more food on the house. Looking to the side, the protagonist sees a reward poster and gets very curious. The owner explains that the government is offering 50 taels of silver for information about the missing people. With his eyes shining with greed, the young man gets super excited about the large sum of money. His classmate calls him greedy, but he says it's for justice and to help others. The young man asks his friend to lie and say he's sick, and his classmate complains about the exam he has. Ignoring him, The protagonist runs off after the reward, and his friend is left yelling for him. After 3 days of searching in a dark forest, he still hasn't found any clues. While eating, he thinks the disappearances must be related to the cult, but he doesn't know where to find them. Out of nowhere, a group of hooded people with talismans appears in front of him. He becomes fully alert at the sudden presence of this mysterious group. Looking closer, he sees that they are members of the cult, and one of them is the guy who attacked him before. The 3 cult members stare him down with a sinister and very intimidating aura. The protagonist feels something strange and familiar coming from them and gets suspicious. He notices that the cult members are floating in the air, which he finds very intriguing. Just then, he trips and falls, realizing his lucky streak is over and his bad luck has returned with a vengeance. One of the cult members sees a talisman on the ground and thinks about using it to clean his shoe. The group's leader ignores it and tells them not to worry about an insect, because they have bigger things to do. Without any leads, the protagonist gives up for now and decides to go home and try again tomorrow. On his way, he overhears 2 children worried about their father, who hasn't been home for days. The older boy says that their mom told him their father is never coming back. The smaller child cries, saying their father promised to buy them candy. Filled with anger, the protagonist clenches his fist, thinking that this cult needs to be stopped once and for all. With a furious look, he decides he's not going to wait anymore and that he's going to put an end to this cult. A golden energy glows in his eyes, showing his determination is at its peak. Elsewhere, his friend Tang Yai is grilling some barbecue and complaining that it's not turning out so well. Suddenly, the protagonist appears on the wall and offers to cook for his friend. Tang Yi accuses him of only showing up for food, but the young man says he brought wine for them to drink. His classmate asks if he found the missing people, and Ji Ku says he'll keep looking tomorrow. His friend, curious, asks why he needs money so badly, and the young man reveals his plan. Tang Yai is surprised to learn that his friend wants to save up money to leave the city. The protagonist then explains that he has an arranged marriage with a noblewoman from another city. His friend says a marriage pact is a serious thing, but the young man asks if he doesn't believe him. To prove his point, the protagonist reaches into his clothes to grab something. He shows a contract and an old piece of bread, explaining that his grandfather saved the leader of the Bai family. Tang Yi then asks if he really plans to marry someone from that noble family. The young man confesses he was excited at first because Tianren City is very prosperous. However, he explains that his bad luck could bring a lot of trouble into someone else's life. That's why he decided to go to the city to cancel the engagement, and he even brags about being a good guy. His classmate then tells him to keep cooking and asks for some fried eggs from the kitchen. Tang Yi comments that his friend really knows how to enjoy life while he's cooking. Suddenly, his friend, who was in the kitchen, screams in pain and comes running out. His classmate asks what happened, and the protagonist looks back with a pained expression. The young man shows a basket full of rotten eggs that are letting off a purple, stinky smoke. Disgusted, Tang Yi tells him to get the eggs away before the smell makes him sick. Seeing the rotten eggs, the protagonist suddenly gets a brilliant idea for his plan. He asks his friend for the basket of rotten eggs, who doesn't understand what he wants to do. With a mischievous smile, the young man says he's going to use the eggs to cause a little trouble. The scene takes us to a fancy, well-lit tavern at night. A magistrate is massaging a man's foot and asks when the cult will be leaving the city. The magistrate looks very scared and nervous, saying he would never dare to kick them out. The cult leader reveals that he knows the guy is an imposter who took the place of the real official. The magistrate is shocked and speechless to have his big secret revealed. The cult leader says he knows the man is afraid of being exposed, and that's why he's in such a hurry. He then calms the guy down, saying the cult will be leaving to guide more people to paradise. With that, the fake magistrate will be able to stay in his position without any worries. Relieved, the man thanks the cult leader several times for his understanding. In another room, the cult leader gathers his followers to give new orders. He says the goddess wants more people and that he won't tolerate any mistakes this time. Suddenly, a hand punches through the room's paper wall, catching everyone by surprise. The cult leader turns around and throws open his cloak in a swift motion. He reveals 2 demonic faces on his chest and asks if his followers understood. Scared to death, the cult's followers immediately agree to their master's orders. Meanwhile, our protagonist is training, doing push-ups in his courtyard. He's been waiting for the cult for 2 nights and believes they'll show up at any moment. A strong wind blows, signaling that something is about to happen that night. With a determined look, the young man realizes the wait is finally over and they've arrived. A sinister cult procession moves through the streets, with its members carrying a litter. Behind them, several people with red eyes follow as if they were hypnotized. Hiding in a tree, the protagonist watches the procession and the number of followers. He's shocked to see the cult is getting even greedier, with almost 100 people there. To his surprise, he recognizes the food stall owner among the hypnotized followers. He grabs a rotten egg and says he needs to save the owner so he can eat his food tomorrow. Suddenly, a strange sound catches his attention, and he looks to see what it is. An old monk strikes a wooden instrument and stops the cult's procession. The protagonist starts to wonder if that old monk is some kind of fighting expert.